Hello, you're watching Sportingbet, and this is a countdown to Cheltenham. Now, we're going to do something slightly different at Sportingbet this year. We're going to start previewing the festival with a great friend of mine and also a professional punter himself, a face actually that should be familiar to a lot of you. It is of course Neil Channing from www.bettingemporium.com, professional poker player as well, second in the World Series just a couple of years ago.
Oh my God, don't mention that, Russ, please. We're trying to back winners at Cheltenham. We don't want second places.
Tell us a little bit about Betting Emporium now, because obviously it's something you've set up and obviously we're delighted to be associated with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously a lazy unemployed person, but Joe Beavers, who you might know from poker, the Hendon mob, he gave me a bell one day. He's a good friend of mine, and he suggested that he'd like to set up a tipping site. He's been doing quite well on football betting, and he sort of felt like I was doing okay on the horses. So that's what we've done, www.bettingemporium.com. It's kind of his thing, really. He just rings me up and tells me to do stuff every now and then, but yeah, I'm enjoying it so far.
But we're going to be doing a lot with Betting Emporium and also with Neil in this Cheltenham Countdown. So make sure you log on to sportingbet.com/Cheltenham, and we're going to have lots of offers every single day, enhanced prices. It's going to be an exciting place to be. And of course, we're going to give it this different spin with Neil in the run-up to Cheltenham. Now,
enhanced prices, yum yum.
The sort of stuff you like. Now, what we're going to do today is, Neil, I'm going to ask you a couple of things about Cheltenham in general, because obviously you're looking for an angle. We're happy to deliver this new angle to punters. Maybe we'll have a look at the Champion Hill a little bit later. But what kind of things would you look at Cheltenham that maybe give you a slight edge, as we're only a month away now?
Yeah.
But what would you be looking for at this early stage?
Well, definitely at this early stage, you know, the real thing is which horses are going to run in which races. So I'm not going to have too many bets that don't involve the words non-runner, no bet after them, because you know, I find it impossible to read the mind of such men as Willie Mullins. So you know, if I do have a bet, it'll be, which is why today I kind of thought I'd start off looking at one of the championship races, because Sportingbet are doing non-runner, no bet, and actually the other thing I really like generally in my betting is I'm always looking for a nice each way price. Obviously Cheltenham, you know, it's big fields, very competitive, but often at Cheltenham the betting markets are very competitive, and you can get a bit of value with enhanced each way terms. And the Champion Hurdle, which I'm going to come on to in a minute, for example, is a nice quarter 1, 2, 3, which obviously for a normal level weights kind of race would be a fifth 1, 2, 3. Just because it's a big race at Cheltenham, a quarter 1, 2, 3. So we've got to get involved there.
So I mean, that gives you a little bit of a flavour of what Neil will be looking for. And like I say, we're going to try and enhance as many prices as we can. Just because he's a professional punter doesn't mean we're going to shy away from that. And I know our racing traders are going to try and stand a few of these, Neil, so show a little bit of bravado. I know it's something in your crusade against bookmakers you've probably got a problem with, but we're going to try and stand a few of these. But let's move on to this Champion Hill now, because it is a hyper-competitive race. I mean, the top of the market is a who's who of the racing game at the moment. Real superb horses there, up there, of course. Hurricane Fly only beaten once in God knows how long. We've obviously got the Nigel Twiston Davis horse is in there. We've got the likes of O'Connor, Jeski. But I mean, you know, how do you really read this? Because the new one is our favourite. It's the 3-to-1 favourite. It's a good horse. Clearly, it's a deserved favourite at this stage, but it's a fairly deep race. So what is your take on this at this stage? What do the punters do?
Okay, well, first of all, the thing that struck me, and the reason I wanted to approach this race is because, first of all, I think the most important variable that we must consider is, of course, the going. I sort of feel like the going, in describing, you know, my thoughts on the race, is going to be on the soft side of good. So let's start with that assumption. And of course, this race is all about the old champion, who's not getting any younger, against a bunch of really exciting new horses. And you've got two there with the new one of My Tent or Yours, who have very close form. You know, they ran against each other at Kempton over Christmas, and of course the new one, possibly some would say, was just coming to get done by to win the race, and it made a mistake at the last, and My Tent or Yours on that speedy track was able to win. But now we're going to be going to Cheltenham, which is, of course, you know, uphill and down dale, and a lot of people think it might be a different case. My Tent or Yours has missed prep runs because of Sandown being called off the other week. Wincanton's been called off for the weekend, and now I hear it's going to go for an all-weather National Hunt flat race on Sunday. So, you know, possibly also Nicky Henderson's horses maybe not having such a brilliant time of it in the last couple of weeks. So I'm a little bit against My Tent or Yours. If we go and look at also at last year, if it didn't get up the hill last year at a novice race, Are we really sure in a really fast run champion hurdle that this one is going to get up the hill? So my first angle into the race is I'm kind of against my tent or yours. The other angle into the race that I've got is that there are 11 runners declared, so that's the maximum we're going to get. If you start looking, you might want to throw a couple out. They are the longer price ones. Grametti might not go, for example.
Yeah.
Petit Zig is definitely, Paul Nicholls has said that's only going to run if it's like super heavy ground. Reading Jeremy Scott talking about Melodic Rendezvous, he said it's, you know, it's had a bit of an interrupted prep into its last race. And the way he was talking this morning, I wouldn't be that surprised if he didn't turn around and say they were going to take that one straight to Liverpool. So, you know, if you knock out 2 or 3 of the runners like that, it's possible. And obviously the very big question, which I should of course say, is Annie Power. If Annie Power doesn't run in the race, now we're looking at 8 runners, possibly even 7 runners, and then how do you like your each way quarter first 3 Sportingbet? That's what I'm looking at. Yeah. So I mean, Annie Power obviously is a great exciting prospect, but they are talking about the long distance race, the World Hurdle. Yeah. And of course Willie Mullins will be thinking to himself, you know, why do I want to take on my stable star with Annie Power when I can win both races? Of course, they're different owners, and you know, that might be quite a lot of politics behind the scene, but the money in recent days has come for Annie Power in the World Hurdle. And on Betfair, if I'm allowed to say such a thing,
by the way.
I think I just did. Annie Power's drifted to more like 18-1 now, which is not obviously not got the generous concession that you guys have of non-runner no bet. So it seems like people are laying it on the basis that they don't think it's going to run in the Champion Hurdle. Again, makes the race a little bit weaker.
So at this point now, then you've kind of broken it down. We're already a bit scared of a few of these runners, but I mean, we may be down to 8 runners. What would your tip be at this stage? And obviously I'll tell people what the price will be.
Okay, so I think basically it's very hard for something outside of the first 4 to win the race, because all 4, our Connor, my tent or yours, Hurricane Fly and the new one would have to, you know, not do it on the day. So I think it's really, really hard for one of the, and you might say, well, we don't need this idiot to tell us that. It's 10-1 on that one of those 4 wins the race. But I won't be trying to find a big price loser in the race. I'm going to try and find you a solid one that will be there. Now, you could say, what about Jeski? That's quite a big price. Hasn't really run very well this season. Maybe McCoy gave it a bad ride the race before last, and in the last race, a bit disappointing. McCoy is saying he can't decide between Jeski and my tent or yours, which is again another bit of a negative for me for my tent or yours. I'm pretty anti my tent or yours. The one I really like, I think it leaves you with the 3. It leaves you with Hurricane Fly, of course. 3-1 is a perfectly reasonable price. Are you going slightly bigger? I think, you might, whatever. 3 to 130, whatever you are. That's a perfectly reasonable price. Wouldn't put anybody off. I think it could easily be shorter on the day. Don't really mind the new one. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the prices, 5-1, I've got to be on our Connor. I mean, it's got such close form with Hurricane Fly on the Irish Champion Hurdle, and it's being trained with Cheltenham in mind. Just a couple of lengths to find. It came into the previous race in Ireland with an interrupted preparation, came there cruising and blew up. Last time in the Irish Champion Hurdle, it was a big drifter, ran a great race, came there, traded odds on him running, looked all over the winner, and then Hurricane Fly just out-battled it. Absolutely loved Cheltenham. You remember last year, of course, it was phenomenal in the Triumph Hurdle. And yeah, that will do for me. 5-1 each way first 3. I'm getting 5-4 a place. It might even end up being a 7-runner race. Okay, that's a pretty comprehensive breakdown of the race then. So our Connor is the tip there for Neil Channing from the Betting Emporium. We are 5-1 at Sportingbet. That is the biggest price in the village. I'm going to hold that certainly for the next few days, Neil, if the onslaught comes. Hang on, let me get some money, Russ.
We're going to let people back that though. But this is the first of our previews here at Cheltenham. It is, of course, the Cheltenham Countdown at Sportingbet. We're going to see a lot more of Neil in the coming weeks. But make sure you join us here for more previews as we get along to the big racing festival of the year.